Some footballers become legends at one club. Others spend their careers searching for the perfect team. Clarence Seedorf did something almost impossible. He became a champion. Wherever he went. Different countries. Different leagues. Different teammates. Different managers. It never seemed to matter. Because every great team that needed control turned to Clarence Seedorf. Elegant with the ball. Powerful without it. Blessed with extraordinary vision. And trusted on football's biggest nights. This is the story of the midfielder who conquered Europe. Clarence Clyde Seedorf was born on the 1st of April, 1976, in Paramaribo, Suriname. When he was just a child, his family moved to the Netherlands. It was there that his football journey truly began. Even at a young age, he stood out. Not because he was flashy, but because he understood the game. He always seemed one pass ahead, one movement ahead, one decision ahead, while others chased the ball. Seedorf controlled it. His talent quickly earned him a place in Ajax's famous academy, a production line that had already created some of football's greatest players. The standards were relentless. Technique, discipline, intelligence. Every young footballer was expected to master them all. Clarence Seedorf didn't just meet those standards. He exceeded them. At just 16 years old, he made his first team debut for Ajax, becoming one of the youngest players ever to represent the club. Most teenagers simply hoped to survive. Seedorf looked like he belonged. Strong, composed, fearless. Nothing about him suggested inexperience. He demanded the ball. He dictated the tempo. He played with a confidence that couldn't be taught. Ajax were building one of the greatest young teams in European football. Edwin van der Sar, Frank Rijkaard, Frank de Boer, Ronald de Boer, Edgar Davids, Patrick Kluivert, Mark Overmars. Young stars, destined for greatness. Among them, Clarence Seedorf quietly became one of the most important. Not the loudest. Not the most glamorous. Simply one of the most reliable. Then came the 1994-95 season. A season that would define a generation. Ajax swept through Europe playing fearless football. Fast. Technical. Intelligent. In the UEFA Champions League, they reached the final against AC Milan, one of Europe's giants. Few expected the young Dutch side to prevail, but they did. Patrick Kluivert scored the winner. Ajax became champions of Europe. And at just 19 years old, Clarence Seedorf had already lifted football's greatest club trophy. Most players spend a career chasing that dream. Seedorf achieved it before turning 20. Europe's biggest clubs were watching. A midfielder with strength, grace, vision, leadership, and a Champions League medal. He had become one of football's brightest young stars. The next challenge wouldn't be staying at the top. It would be proving he could do it somewhere else. In 1995, he joined Sampdoria. Many questioned the decision. Why leave the European champions? The answer was simple. Clarence Seedorf never feared change. He embraced it. One outstanding season in Italy proved he could thrive outside the Netherlands. Once again, Europe took notice. This time, Real Madrid came calling. Few clubs carry greater pressure than Real Madrid. History demands success. Nothing less is accepted. Could the young Dutch midfielder handle football's biggest stage? Could he lead another giant of European football? Clarence Seedorf wasn't just about to answer those questions. He was about to begin building one of the most unique legacies football has ever seen. Real Madrid isn't a club that waits for players to grow. It expects them to win. Clarence Seedorf arrived knowing exactly what that meant. Every pass would be judged. Every performance analyzed. Every mistake remembered. Pressure has broken many great footballers. Seedorf thrived under it. From the moment he stepped into Real Madrid's midfield, he looked completely at home. Strong enough to dominate physical battles. Technically gifted enough to control possession. And intelligent enough to dictate the rhythm of the biggest matches. He wasn't a midfielder who chased the game. He controlled it. The faster football became, the calmer Clarence Seedorf looked. Then came another unforgettable European campaign. The 1997-98 UEFA Champions League. Real Madrid had waited 32 years to lift Europe's greatest prize again. The pressure was enormous. Every player understood what was at stake. Seedorf was one of the driving forces behind the team's success. In the final, Real Madrid defeated Juventus. The trophy returned to Madrid. For the second time in his career, Clarence Seedorf was a European champion, with 2 different clubs, before the age of 23. A remarkable achievement. Yet perhaps his greatest quality wasn't lifting trophies. It was adapting. Different countries, different teammates, different expectations. It never mattered. Wherever he went, he found a way to succeed. That ability made him one of football's most complete midfielders. In 1999, another adventure began. Inter Milan. Italian football demanded tactical discipline, physical strength, patience. Seedorf possessed all 3. He produced moments of breathtaking quality, including one unforgettable match against Juventus, where he scored 2 spectacular long-range goals. The kind of strikes only a midfielder with supreme technique could produce. Supporters couldn't believe what they had witnessed. Neither could the goalkeeper. Although major trophies proved difficult to win at Inter, Seedorf's reputation continued to grow. Managers trusted him. Teammates admired him. Opponents respected him. He could defend, attack, create, score, lead. There seemed to be nothing he couldn't do. Then, in 2002, came a move that would define his career. AC Milan, a club filled with football royalty. Paolo Maldini, Alessandro Nesta, Andrea Pirlo, Gennaro Gattuso, Filippo Inzaghi, Kaká, Andriy Shevchenko. It was a team packed with superstars. Yet Clarence Seedorf never looked out of place. He elevated them. Carlo Ancelotti understood exactly what he had. A midfielder capable of doing everything. One moment, breaking up an attack. The next, launching one of his own. He could play deep, play higher up the pitch, control possession, or produce moments of brilliance from nowhere. Very few footballers have ever been so complete. Then came Old Trafford. The 2003 UEFA Champions League final. AC Milan. Juventus. 90 minutes couldn't separate them. Neither could extra time. The final would be decided on penalties. Once again, Clarence Seedorf stood on the biggest stage in club football. AC Milan emerged victorious. For the 3rd time, he lifted the Champions League. And this time, with a 3rd different European giant. Ajax. Real Madrid. AC Milan. Football had never seen anything quite like it. Most players dream of winning the Champions League once. Clarence Seedorf had now conquered Europe. Again. And again. But his greatest chapter was still to come. Because at AC Milan, Clarence Seedorf wasn't just collecting trophies. He was building a legacy that would make him one of the greatest midfielders of his generation. By 2003, Clarence Seedorf had already achieved what most footballers only dream about. 3 Champions League titles. 3 different clubs. 3 different footballing cultures. Ajax. Real Madrid. AC Milan. No player had ever conquered Europe quite like that. But Clarence Seedorf wasn't finished. At AC Milan, he entered the greatest years of his career. Every season, he remained one of the first names on Carlo Ancelotti's team sheet. Because managers knew exactly what they were getting. Consistency, leadership, intelligence. When the biggest matches arrived, Seedorf always seemed to play his best football. He slowed the game down when others rushed. He sped it up when others hesitated. He made the difficult look remarkably simple. The Champions League became his stage. Year after year, Milan challenged Europe's very best. Then came Athens. The 2007 Champions League final. Liverpool stood in the way. 2 years earlier, Milan had suffered one of football's most painful defeats in Istanbul, leading 3-0, only to lose on penalties. Many teams never recover from heartbreak like that. This Milan side did. And Clarence Seedorf helped lead the response. AC Milan defeated Liverpool 2-1. Revenge was complete. For the 4th time, Clarence Seedorf lifted the Champions League trophy. No player had ever won Europe's greatest competition with 3 different clubs. Football history had been made. His achievements weren't built on luck or timing. They were built on trust. Every manager trusted him. Louis van Gaal, Guus Hiddink, Vicente del Bosque, Carlo Ancelotti. Each saw the same qualities. A midfielder who understood football better than almost anyone else. Someone who could adapt to any system and improve every team around him. That is an incredibly rare gift. His international career with the Netherlands was equally impressive. More than 80 caps. European Championships. World Cups. Sharing a dressing room with some of Dutch football's greatest names. Although international silverware narrowly escaped him, his influence on the national team never diminished. He represented his country with the same composure and professionalism that defined his entire career. As his playing days drew to a close, his love of football never faded. He stepped into management, determined to pass on everything he had learned across 2 decades at the very highest level. Because great football minds rarely leave the game behind. They simply find new ways to shape it. So, what made Clarence Seedorf different? Was it his strength? His passing? His powerful shooting? His vision? Perhaps. But there was something even greater. He understood football. Not just his own role. The entire game. He knew when to speed up. When to slow down. When to attack. When to protect possession. When to inspire. And when to lead. That football intelligence allowed him to succeed wherever he went. Different leagues. Different teammates. Different managers. The result was almost always the same. Success. Very few players can honestly say they changed the fortunes of Europe's biggest clubs. Clarence Seedorf can. Ajax. Real Madrid. AC Milan. Each chapter added another piece to an extraordinary legacy. Not through headlines. Not through controversy. Through excellence. Week after week. Season after season. Perhaps that's why teammates valued him so highly. He never chased individual glory. He chased victories. He made everyone around him better. And football has always had room for players like that. Football has produced countless world-class midfielders. Some dazzled with flair. Some dominated with power. Some dictated matches with passing. Clarence Seedorf did all of it. A complete midfielder. A born winner. A footballer whose intelligence, strength and elegance allowed him to conquer Europe like no one before him. And that's why Clarence Seedorf will always be remembered as the midfielder who conquered Europe. And above all, a true footballing icon.